How do you set up a shrimp tank? It's actually pretty simple. So as you can see on YouTube, there are a lot of videos, but there aren't a lot with, straightforward information, straightforward answers to the questions you guys might have. So I'm trying to do a video where everyone can watch and learn, but everything's straightforward that you guys understand quickly and you guys can figure things out quickly. That's the point of this video. So in this video, I'll be introducing you guys how to set up a simple shrimp tank. And as you can see, I have a colony of my Bloody Marys, and they're doing really, really well. As you can see, there you go. It's feeding time, and yeah, there are a couple down here. Their colors great, and as you can see, they're proliferating. And right next to it, we have orange sun-kissed, and they're as well proliferating, and it's mealtime, so they're all bunched up there. Right next to it, I have a golden bag, yellow golden bag. They're all back there, and these guys are actually essentially sold out, so I only have a couple in there, but sorry that I can't actually show you guys because there's only 5 in there because I sold them all. But anyway, so in order to set up a shrimp tank, Neocaridina specifically in this case, is to make sure, first of all, have a cycled water. You guys don't want to put these guys in any tank that's not cycled properly. And if you're watching this video, I'm sure that you guys know what it means to cycle a water. But if you guys don't know, cycling a water, it takes about 3 weeks to about 2 months to cycle water properly. At least 3 weeks. And in that cycle, so basically get a tap water in a bucket or wherever container that you want and leave it in there for about 3 weeks. And within that 3 weeks, nitrite and chlorine will go through a cycle of just turning into nitrate. You guys can read it on Google. I'm not going to explain thoroughly because I don't know the science behind it specifically, but I know how it works, so I do it. That's why I have so many shrimps proliferating and doing so well. Anyway, so cycle your water properly. That's the first thing. So don't just go and buy shrimps whatever you want before you cycle it. Make sure you have the water ready. And then second thing is substrate isn't too important, honestly. From what I gathered from breeding these shrimps for many years, probably 2 years, I figured that substrate isn't too important, but it can be a great factor in having a successful colony built. The reason is because when you do your water changes, the mineral and bacteria that lives in the tank usually subsides in the gravel and the substrates, which is very important because they feed off of those algae, bacteria, and minerals. So having those proper gravel, I guess in this case, is very important. For me, I go with black only because these guys pop, in terms of their color pop the best in darker environment. So if you have a white background and white substrate, I guess the color won't pop as nicely as the ones that I have here, but I don't know if that's scientifically proven. But anyway, because of that reason, I have my substrates black, and you can see it very well too from a distance. My filter's starting now, so it's gonna get a little louder, but also have the water cycle and the substrates, proper substrates. In this case, I prefer and I recommend gravel for you guys. So go to Petco, PetSmart, buy maybe 5 to 10 pounds, maybe 3 to 5 pounds of gravels, and then make sure you wash these gravels and then put it in the water and then cycle with the water. But that's honestly up to you guys because the gravels, I think they're already processed and cleaned. So I think you can just dump it in your aquarium right out the bag most of the time. And we also have plants. As you can see, I have consistent amount of plants in all of my 3 Neocaridina shrimp tanks set up. Originally, I didn't have any live plants. It was all plastic, to be honest. And they're doing fine in there as well. But adding these live plants in these tanks really do help because they provide oxygen and they feed off of nitrite, and nitrate, and then they produce oxygen, stuff like that. Well, you can Google that also. I might not be too accurate with nitrate and nitrite, but nitrite is the bad thing and nitrate is the good thing. Okay, and chlorine and ammonia. It absorbs ammonia too and produces CO2, which is really, really good for the shrimps. So it also helps build algae, which these guys, if you don't have to feed them if you have algae. If you don't have to, it's not that you don't have to feed it like entirely, but you don't have to feed it every day if you have algae in the tank, because they'll eat those algae off the walls or the glass and whatnot. And so having gravels, water cycled, and live plants honestly a recommendation, but in your case, if it's not possible or if it's too much of an investment, honestly you don't have to go for it. You can just put any plastic plants in or whatever decoration you want to put in, but it would help. And these rocks in there, they would also definitely help, because it's a place where they hang out. It's a great place for them to hang out. So that's one recommendation as well. And when it also comes to tank size, you can start off with a 10-gallon if it's your first time. These three are all 10-gallon tanks, by the way. These are all 10-gallon tanks, and as you can see, these are all 10-gallon as well. This is a snail tank, Blue Dream, and this is a Caribbean CRS tank. But anyway, so 10 gallons perfectly fine. And in terms of filter, definitely a sponge filter to go, because if you have a hang on back filter, it'll definitely suck up your little baby shrimps, because they are tiny. As you can see, they are tiny. They're really small. So make sure to use a sponge filter, and then the mineral and bacteria that grows on the sponge is essential for these guys' proper growth. So bacteria, minerals, and algae is a very, very good nutrition for these guys. So definitely use a sponge filter for these shrimps. And when it comes to heater and temperature, I leave it at my room temperature. I don't add any heater in any of my Caridina tanks, because Neocaridina tanks, because it's not necessary, honestly. Scientifically proven and personally witnessed. As you can see, I don't have any heaters in these tanks, and these guys are doing perfectly fine. And the temperature, ideal temperature would be anywhere from 67-ish to 78, I guess. But I think my tanks are around 70 to 72 tanks, because that's my room temperature, and these guys are perfect in those temperatures, because that's just the way it is. And so honestly, don't worry about heaters. It's not too important, but if you want to if you're kind of scared that your shrimps might not do without the heaters, then definitely add it. But I don't see why. Not that I don't see why, but it's not necessary is what I'm saying. And also in terms of lighting, these guys don't require any lighting at all, to be honest. You don't have to provide them lighting as much, but it just simply looks good like this, So add a lighting, just normal amount of LED light, but not too much, because if you add too much lighting, you get these brown algae, and you don't want brown algae, because they don't do anything for these shrimps. So as you can see, my filter's starting. So it's getting louder in this room. And so yeah, I'll wrap it up here. So water parameter wise, make sure you cycle the tank before you bring any shrimps. And after that, get your gravel, substrates. Gravel or sand works, but gravel works better because it's easier to do water changes. And then in terms of live plants are not necessary, but it is recommended, because it definitely does help. And plastic plants, of course, work as well. When it comes to filter, sponge filter, 100%. This is not a recommendation; it's a requirement. It's a must. Hangover filter. If you're stupid, go for hangover filter. But if you're wise, just like you are, then go with a sponge filter. And when it comes to heater is not exactly necessary from where I'm from. I don't know where you're from. You could be from anywhere in the world. I'm from California, perfect weather all year round. And my water stays at exactly like 72 degrees, and that's perfect for these shrimps. And I guess I'll do another video in terms of how to properly care for these little baby shrimps once they're born. But I guess that's basically it. And also tank size, 10-gallon works for probably 50 to 100 of these guys in one tank. I start off with 10 and they grow to about 50 now. These guys are about 50. These guys were about 100 and I sold them all, so there's only like 5 So it's perfect for these guys. 10-gallon works. 10 gallons, if you don't know how big 10 gallons is, then why don't you Google it? Probably some liters or some shit like that. But anyway, so that's it. It's pretty simple to set up a tank. In terms of me, it was a breeding purposes, and 10 gallon worked perfectly fine. But if you have, even if you have other purposes, 10 gallons perfectly fine. And this 10 gallon setup, I would say would cost anywhere from $45 to only like $50 actually. It's not too expensive to, you know, buy a 10-gallon tank with hangover filter with air pump, and you don't even have a heater and just a little bit of gravel. So, and the shrimps cost separately. But if you guys have any other questions related to how to set up a shrimp tank or how to take care of them, I'll definitely do another video. And yeah, just leave it down in the comment section so I can think of other videos to do. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.